Hello, welcome everybody. Hello,
Oh,
Jill.
I can see Jill.
Hello,
Couple of them.
Belinda. Nice to meet you. Hello, Angela. You have been popped on mute, but we would love to hear you say hello too. So please unmute and say a little friendly
Hello.
hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Everyone's just slowly joining in here. Sorry about the mix up with the links, everybody. Thanks for re-registering. Appreciate it.
It's okay.
If anyone needs to leave today, someone gets an urgent call, a new sales lead, a new customer, we are recording this and I will send out a link this afternoon. It'll be, you can have a look at it and rewatch it and take off where you left off. So everybody always seems to ask, is it recorded? Yes, it will be. So
Hi, Craig. Hi, Beverly. Hi, Claire. Hi, Caitlin. I'm Grell.
okay, I'll
Hi,
keep an eye
Akut.
on people just joining and coming in now. Okay, I've got a couple more people just joining very quickly. All right, while we wait for everybody to come in, what industry are people mostly in at the moment? I suppose is the good way of starting and asking.
Hi, this is Kim. I do retrospective baked goods. So think Women's Weekly or CWA cake books, jam drops, and raspberry slice.
Oh, yum.
Yeah.
Sold already? Sold. Feel
It's so
free
easy.
Feel free to either pop it in the chat or you're, of course, open to speaking via camera. I can see some friendly faces, but also some new ones.
I'm Jill. We're in Orange and we have a B&B.
Silverdown,
Silverdown. Yeah.
beautiful part of the world. I can attest to it.
Yes. It is.
Getting a
Very
bit more
green at the
popular.
moment.
Here we go.
Angela?
Hey, I'm Angela. I am in marketing and we help brands articulate their value to their customers.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Belinda?
We are a training organisation, mainly based in with mining and quarrying, and so we do diplomas and Cert 4s and plant and machinery.
Great. Your business? Someone else's business?
Our business, yeah.
Awesome. Welcome, Michelle. Welcome, Jessica. Norma, welcome, Tegan.
Late lunch. Okay. Alrighty. We might get started, Kirsten, if
Yep.
that's okay. And
Yep.
hi,
Perfect.
Beverly.
That's a good idea.
Wow.
Welcome today to our session about selling online and offline. We're obviously in an offline environment. Steve and I do see some familiar faces, but also some new. So thanks for joining us today. We're here to share some really practical advice. So as we go through the presentation today, please think about the information that we're saying, but put it with relevance to your own business. We do have quite a range of industries, city-based, regional-based, I think pretty broad spread. Some small business owners, some people in marketing and sales roles. So we do have a really broad range, but we'll do our best to relate it to some different industries and different roles along the way. As we start the presentation, please pop yourself on mute. We will be sharing the recording at the end, but with the recording of the slides, not with people's faces and names. We're sharing that so that you can have it as a resource. I'd like to introduce Steve Bigg, who will be presenting with me today. He's the owner of Out West Online. They're a digital marketing and website design agency. And I own a business called BDM by the Hour, and we provide sales mentoring help to small business owners and also outsourced sales representation help as and when you need it. So before we commence today, I wanted to just get another sort of sense of who's in the room today. More so, I want you to have a think about your business, and is your business led by online or offline sales? So when your customers come in, are they predominantly coming in through online or offline? Now that's rhetorical for the moment. And you might be selling products or services. There are some slight differences, but the concepts that we're going to share with you today will relate to everyone in the room. At the end, we will have some open questions, and at halftime, Steve and I are both sports people at halftime. We'll have some open questions as well. In the meantime, feel free to chat, and we'll be manning the chat in order to incorporate them into the presentation today. So, without further ado, we told you that we would share with you some learnings around how to integrate your online and offline customer experience, how to build a website that supports sales, how to quickly earn trust and win inquiries, both online and offline, and how to convert more leads without being pushy. Our tagline was browsers to buyers. So I put a little slide up here today to share with you, I guess, some of the things that might differentiate a browser from a buyer. And as we do this, I'd like you to think about yourself as a buyer and as a browser. So starting with the left-hand column, when you're in a store and you're browsing, you have no intention of buying, you might avoid eye contact with someone there. You might give the salesperson a short response. You're just there to look. You're seeing what's out there, right? When you're online, you might click on a sale, have a general look, you scroll, you window shop. You could be even there for entertainment. You have an interest in having a look around, right? Browser. Right-hand side, buyer. You walk into the same store, you engage, you ask some specific questions. Do you have this? I want this. I might try this one. You're well informed because you've done your research. You'll probably exude more confidence because you are well informed. You might even have multiple visits to the website or to the shop. You're expressing intent. So browsers generally have some interest in something. Buyers have intent. And there's an interesting middle point, which is what we're going to talk about today, which is how do you influence? How do you get the commitment? How do you move people from being interested to being that person who has intent? So from I'm just seeing what's out there to I want to, yeah, I might try this, and then I want to buy. So they can look different depending on whether or not you're in an online or a digital space or whether you're face to face. The buying signs can be different, and we'll talk about that a little bit more today. Some controversial signs I just wanted to throw out there to have a think about. If someone's inquiring about pricing, where do they sit? Are they browsing or are they buying? Are they interested or do they have real intent? If anyone has thoughts on that, pop it in the chat for me.
I'd say right side.
Intent? Yep. Anyone else? I'm up for a tally here.
I'd say it can be both. Like,
Sorry?
I agree, both.
if you're shopping, it depends on what you're buying. If you're shopping it round, you want to go, I want to make sure, I'm getting the right price.
Yeah. So pricing is an interesting one because if you think about yourself when someone asks you about pricing, it's really easy to say, oh, they're annoying. They're asking about pricing. Like, all they want is to know the price. They don't see value. Incorrect. I strongly believe it's intent. They have an intention to purchase and they just want to know the price. If you have a product-based business, your price will already be up there. If you have a service-based business, you may not have shared price yet. Share it because people are inquiring about price. They're interested. Another one, abandoned cart. Someone who pops some things online and then they abandon the cart. They don't purchase. Are they interested or do they have buying intent?
I'll throw my wife under the bus on this one. If she's interested in something, she'll put something in the cart and then wait a day. And if they send her an email with a coupon code, she'll then buy. To which I go, that's madness. But some people do it. I don't have time. If I'm going to buy something, I buy something. I always think if someone's abandoned the cart, they're gone. They're not coming back. There's a reason why they didn't buy the first one.
Intent, right? Because you put things in abandoned cart. I forget about it. I could be just browsing, but I had an intent to purchase, and something else came up. My kid came and pulled my leg, or my phone ran out of battery, whatever. It's in the cart, it's intent. So this is the space, this is important to talk about because this is how we're defining browsing and buying, and you'll probably define it in a slightly different way based on your own experience as well. So I am generalizing here, but I just wanted to put a benchmark there for us to have some discussion around it. This slide might feel overwhelming. Good, because this is as many interaction points that I could think of in terms of how we can communicate with prospects or customers in an online, mostly towards the left-hand side, and an offline, mostly towards the right-hand side channel. Now, I'm thinking about the question I asked you before rhetorically, where are most of your customers coming in? For hotels that we might have here, it might be walk-ins, it might be through the website, through a booking engine, social media. It's really tricky to manage all of them. So today, I mean, we could build a workshop out of it for weeks and weeks, but today we're going to be focusing on a select few as we go through today. But I want to leave you with a couple of examples of people who integrate their online and offline experiences really well, and that's real estate agents. Because if you think about the customer journey with real estate agents, you might see a banner physically on the house, that's offline. You might go on domain on real estate, on the real estate's website. So you could be in multiple places, online or offline. You might go for an inspection. After the inspection, the real estate agent might call you, they might text you, then they might move to email for any contracts, and then physically you're going to the house to pick up the keys. They do this really well. They operate seamlessly, most of them, within an online and offline channel. So as we go through today, I just want you to think about what channels you might not be using, but you could be using more effectively. What I wanted to share with you here on the little right-hand side, magazines, billboards, newspaper, radio. They're effectively offline channels, but in today's world, I'm going to throw them over to the left for the purpose of our conversation because they're not forums that allow or channels that allow for any interaction. They're there for advertising purposes, for interest purposes. So I'm going to pop them over there. And I also want you to think about, as we go along through the presentation today, how are you gaining commitment in the various stages of your customer journey as people move from one channel to another? Because when you have interest or a browser turn into a buyer, someone with intent, you have the ability to influence right there in the middle. But if you're not getting them to commit at every step of the way, in little micro steps, you're not doing yourself any justice, right? So the opportunity to increase your conversion is when you're looking at your customer journey as a whole and thinking how you're gaining commitment for them to buy across the board. I'm about to hand over to Steve. And up here on the left-hand side, these are the areas that he's going to be focusing on in terms of when we reference online. Back in the day, we wouldn't even have a presentation to give, and we would just be focusing on the right-hand side of offline. But now we have the beautiful space, which is digital, which encompasses all these things. But Steve will just be focusing on these particular ones in his presentation today. So without further ado, I will hand over to Steve.
I'll try and see how we go doing the share. Okay. How'd that work, Kirsten?
Yep, we're up.
Smoothly. Okay. Excellent. Thanks very much for that great introduction. Thanks everyone for coming here today. The way I'm going to work my section of the presentation is I'm not going to give you heaps of stats and slides and things to go on. I find that people get confused and everyone's business is so different. I like to kind of tackle a few different subjects and then give a real example of how each can apply. So running through what we're going to cover as well. So today we're going to talk about building a website at the core of your business to really support your sales. A lot of businesses don't have websites. People just rely on purely on, say, like a social media channel or something like that. I really strongly suggest getting your own website if you haven't already. The second one is probably in the day and age of AI taking over everything. Trust is the biggest and the hardest thing to gain and grow. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. how to showcase your skills and your wares effectively, talking back to a bit more of a search strategy as well. How do you want to turn up? What kind of people do you want to attract? And how to go about doing that. The fifth one here I've got down is customer engagement, how to keep your customers coming back. Talking about a small tool of selling online, which is a newsletter, and then we'll just do a quick recap. How's that all sounding? Kirsten, looking good, sounding good? Excellent, okay. So here's a little bit of background about myself. So while I am a digital guy, tech guy, and things like that, my background is very similar to Kirsten. We actually think we may have crossed paths back in the 2010s, I think, back in Sydney. But so my background is in hotels, hospitality, more so service management, customer service. So that's kind of where I've come from. And then I've moved down about 15 years ago across to building websites, managing websites, hosting websites. I've seen a lot of things come and go and change, but a lot of things haven't as much as you think. So my main focus is web design, SEO, and digital marketing. First thing we're going to talk about is building a website that supports sales. Now, this can be selling a product directly online, or it can also be a service. Still a sale, but it's just we need to make sure that any website that you have in the world that represents your business, we need to go through a few things. Number one, I think this is Kirsten's slide that she said to me. She went, any website you hit, you need your customers to know within 2 seconds, what is this business? What is this website? Am I in the right place? Is it setting the tone for the potential relationship? Getting that right, incredibly important. The next one, simple stuff, fast, secure. Got to work on telephones. I've seen that's probably the biggest thing I've seen change in the last 15 years. 15 years ago, barely anyone was on their phones looking at websites. I see some websites these days where I'd say it's 75, 80% of all traffic are on smartphones, which is huge. Websites generally aren't built for smartphones. So if your customer or your demographic use their phones heavily, if you've got some good tracking involved, you need to make sure your website works on a phone. But also, going back to our browsers thing, we need to make sure that it works on a variety of browsers. It works on Safari, works on Firefox, works on Chrome, works on these new AI browsers that they're coming out with as well. So they look good, they load well, and they do you some justice. Number 4 I've got is consistent branding and content that aligns with your business. This is more real world and online. Think your website, your social channels. Think about if you've got a car for work, you've got signage of any work that you are doing. Is branding is the same. Your logo is the same. Your colors are the same. The content is the same. We want to make sure that people know, oh, I'm in the right place. I've heard this name. Someone told me this, this installer is good. They come to your website, they go straight away, I'm in the right place. The next one as well is, it's one thing to have a good website. The next is it needs to be able to be accessible via Google or a search engine, and also AI. This is the one that my industry is grappling with at the moment is AI going to take our jobs? Maybe, but at the same time, what can we do to make sure that the websites that are out there are literally turning up in people's searches on AI, because that is the thing that has completely tipped the industry on its head. And the last one, this is more from a business owner point of view, is you need a website that you simply trust to work, to do its job, to sell, to load fast, to send you an inquiry form. So if that last one there, if I've got an old website, I don't know how well it works, I haven't got any tracking, I don't get many sales off it, why not? We need to work out why, and we need to make sure that you have a good website that really you can trust and rely on. The best example I can give for this one is a young lady in Bathurst who I've worked with a couple of years now. Her name's Miriam. She came to me as she was finishing up university. She was studying to be a naturopath and a nutritionist, and she came along. We had a good chat. We ran through where she was heading, what she specialized in, and what she wanted to do. And she was coming into an industry where there was quite a few established players already in Bathurst, and she said, I want to be number 1 on Google for being a nutritionist in Bathurst. And I said, okay, it's going to take a bit to get to the top. But we worked through her current website. It was an old Wix website, wasn't up to the task. We rebuilt the website. We then set her on a course of getting her social media up to scratch, and she does a great job at it. She also does email marketing, regularly connecting with her existing client base. As well, she does blogs, podcasts. She also gives presentations to a variety of other kind of fitness and aligning businesses. Other things as well is we built the website in WordPress, and we built out a fully functional e-store, selling food plans, selling, I think, teas. I think she's adding a few other things down the track as well. So we worked out pretty soon that as a service-based business, her time of how much she can charge per week, 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week, she hit a ceiling. She goes, I'm fully booked for the next month. This is the most I can earn during that time. So we had to think of a few other ways of how am I going to kind of get a few other streams of income, but at the same time, grow her name, grow her reputation. So then she can charge more for her services, get a variety of more products in, and really kind of grow her business. I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and she's doing great. She is now number one on Google. If anyone Googles, naturopath in Bathurst, I can almost guarantee you she'll be number one, if not number one. The next one I'm going to talk about is building trust. This is really, really tricky to do because there's a few different things I have to speak in general terms because every website is different, every business is different, but there's a few things we really need to consider of what in your customers' eyes you can do to build trust so they simply trust that you will do what you say you do. A couple of things we can go through is secure and safe, basics, SSL certificate, some good customer reviews, good testimonials, any accreditations, list them. If you do have an e-store, if you do want to sell, unfortunately, these are the boring pages. We need to make sure that, people have secure payments with Stripe through a few other things, as well as simple terms and conditions, returns, number of e-stores I've seen without even a phone number if something goes wrong. Boring stuff, but at the same time, incredibly important that really do matter for customers. The next one is actually getting very serious about cybersecurity, not burying your head in the sand, using the same passwords twice. Really making sure that anything you put online or anything in your digital platform, you are secure and safe. I've lost count of the number of times I get calls from people who say, my Facebook has been hacked. I've been building my audience for the last 5 years. I've got 5,000 followers, but these hackers have hacked my personal account and destroyed my page. And they say, can you help me? And I have to say no, because I can't. Unfortunately, that whole horse is bolted. So getting in touch in front of these things is a really good way to kind of make sure that you rely on that trust with your customers. The next one as well, online reviews, incredibly important. Unfortunately, they're not going anywhere. Some people will wish that they didn't, but they're here to stay, and people read them and people are guided by them. So getting control of any review platform, think Google Business, think there's a few other ones, TripAdvisor, managing your reviews and hopefully building them up over time, but then also responding. The last point is trust is incredibly hard earned, but it's also very easy to lose. So keep that in mind, that if somebody gives you a really negative or really bad review, I always say, you can get rid of it as soon as possible, address it, fix it, it will be better in the long run. So this is a good example of what one Google search can result in money-wise, online and offline. Kirsten will like this one, I think. So I was recently in Albury a few weeks ago, and if anyone knows me, they know that I really enjoy a good cup of coffee. I make it myself. A big part of my life is having a good cup of coffee. So if I go somewhere new, I want to go to the best place. I rarely buy coffee, but when I was there, I simply Googled best coffee Albury. 125 5-star reviews, got my interest straight away. So one quick Google search, went in store, great setup, really nice place, very friendly interactions. They had all the products lined up out the front, had a really great chat with the barista. I said, actually, while I'm here, I do need a bag of beans. What will you suggest? We ran through, really nerded out a bit on coffee beans, and then I had a quick coffee and took it away. I then left and went, geez, that was great. Went back the next day, had another great interaction, came home, tried the beans at home. I was that impressed. I went online onto their website. It was seamless. It was simple. Of course, free shipping over $100, bought 3 bags. So I then told my uncle about it. He's recovering from an operation. I ordered him 3 bags. Then my wife needs decaf, so I ordered another bag. And I'm probably going to buy off them again. So it's gone from 1 cup of coffee for $5 has turned into $200, $300. that they've then generated, and they've now got myself, my uncle, my wife as new customers talking about it, doing the hard work for them. And so while it did start as an online sale, they did a great job in store. The online element of having a great website, having a good search strategy online, it all worked seamlessly, as well as every bit of packaging that came through. Actually, I've got the beans here as a bit of all the beans are really simple QR codes, simple pre-order or sign up with a subscription. So easy. Anyways, I thought that was a good example. Kirsten, did you like that example? It's not a.
Yeah, loved it.
I
Loved
know.
it.
You know. All right, moving on. The next one is showcasing effectively. This is a big one. Creating content that builds trust and credibility. Using rich media to support the sale, using photos, using videos, using downloads, using documents, using PDFs. Showcasing what you can do and how you do it. Really important to convey that message. And there's a real good variety of ways you can share these messages. And I'll give you a few examples shortly, but using your social media, using email, using press releases, writing blogs, and even in print as well. The example I can give for this is, and Kirsten, I think you've actually did some work with these guys, Partners in Energy.
Yeah.
New solar company in Orange. And if anyone here is from Orange, they know that in the past, I'd say 10 to 15 years, we've had a huge problem with trust for solar installers. They seem to come out from Sydney, they do it on the cheap, they do a bad job, they then leave, and there's been a lot of people that have been burnt. And so a lot of people are very hesitant. Anyways, I'm not sure who put me in touch with Toby, the owner of Partners in Energy, but a few years ago we came in, we had a chat, and he was running a Sydney arm and also an Orange arm. They've now combined, they're just in Orange. And I told him this is the experience of a lot of people in Orange, myself included, at a previous property. And I said, we really need to overcome the trust factor. Are you guys here for the long haul? And he said, yeah, we are. I said, okay, this is what we need to do. Is he had an old website that was built offshore, and it was clunky, it was stock image, it was average. And I said, we've got multiple customers coming from different areas, but the main thing we need to do is we need to showcase who you guys are and what you do well. So every single job from then on, every installer knows we need photos. We might not use them, but it doesn't matter. Before, during, after. Especially if we've got a bigger job. They've recently done the Wentworth Golf Course, they did the bowling club, they've done the Ex-Services Club, they even hired a videographer to take the video. And if you go onto their website today, it literally, there's no stock images, all the photos are real. These days, I don't care if they're not the best photos, I just need to tell a story. So every story, every job they do, we turn into content. We start looking at what people are searching for and then telling the story of what was the project we did. So we did an off-grid install. Okay, well, here's the place before, here's during, and then we get into the real tech specs. This is the inverter we used. These are the panels we used. These are the batteries we used. And so people go, oh, they search, they're a SunGrow installer. Oh no, they're a Fronis installer. And all this is fed into their website now. If someone's looking for a solar installer in Orange, they're now in the hunt for coming up. As well, I know personally from using AI is when I was comparing options for, say, doing some solar work at my place, I was like, oh, would you like to see, the top 3 installers in Orange? And I said yes, and they were number 1. So it's a long-term strategy as well. So we're constantly adding content to the website, we're constantly adding content to the social media, we're constantly doing email outs to the customers. As well, linking up that real world and online world is really, it's hard to do, but they've done this well. Similar to what you're saying about real estate agents, whereby, the first is a phone call with them. The next is Toby or one of the installers comes around to the roof and gets on the roof. The next is they work on an actual online proposal, but then they use photos from satellites and put where potentially the panels will be. And then it's a phone call back and forth. Any questions? This is how we work, and just start lining up jobs. So they've done a really good job of it, and I hope they keep continuing. The next I'm going to talk about is having a search strategy. Now, has anyone in the chat, heard of does anyone have a search strategy in place at the moment? Kirsten, I'll look at you. Have you got a search strategy for coming up for your business?
I'll pop my
Okay to say no. It's okay to say no. Most people don't.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Totally fine. You're not the first. You're not probably, I think most people don't. And people think, oh, I need a huge document, I need a marketing plan, a business plan, but no. A simple stretch strategy is really thinking about and targeting who your ideal customers are and do hashtags count? No, I'm not talking about hashtags. I'm talking about a search strategy. Well, I suppose in a way you could if you want to, but how you want to come up on Google. What do you want people to type in to find you? Do they want you to look by name? Do they want you to look by a particular product or a particular service? What words do you want them to type into Google to find you?
Keywords.
So, sorry?
Keywords.
Not even keywords, really. It's keywords. Every word on your website is a keyword. More just thinking, we want to be known for best solar installer orange, for example, or we want people to look us up by name. So keywords do help, but it also involves looking at your numbers, tracking the right numbers as well, what people are looking for, what has worked in the past, but then at the same time, creating a digital foundation that you can grow. I find this quite a bit where people go, oh yeah, no, a guy sold me an old HTML website 10 years ago. He built it, he left it, he's gone. I now can't make any changes. I don't know if it's working or not. People just seem to find me, but I don't know why. So what I suggest doing is having a simple search strategy of what do I want people to find and look for me by, and then make sure that messaging is conveyed in your website, in your social strategy, in all your marketing going forward. The best example I can give for this one is a search strategy that I helped write back in 2011. And I know it works because I wrote it and it's still in effect in 2026. So there's a company out, I used to live out in Condobolin for a number of years for a print company. Anyway, a story for another time. And when I got there, they said, oh yeah, we know that people aren't buying as much print. And they handed me a tag, a Tougher tag is what it was called back then. The website was toughertags.com.au. And they showed me this product and they said, hey, we've got a really good product. We've got we've got the right facilities. We've got the right printing equipment that they simply don't even make anymore. We've got the right connections. We've got a great product, but we simply don't have customers. And I went, okay. I looked at this product and I went, this product, we can sell this to every single company that we can think of. Like, it really had so many applications. It was customizable, you had stock products, but at the time we had a terrible digital presence. We barely had an old HTML website. Anyways, we rebuilt the website using WordPress, using WooCommerce, and we started with one product. And then we had 5 products. It took about 6 months before we got the first online order. Now, from last count, I don't even know anymore. I think they're upwards of 10, 15,000 products. And the simple search strategy that we had was we wanted to be number 1 for tags, safety tags, mining tags, flange tags. These words, we kept looking at our analytics, we kept looking at Search Console, we kept seeing what people were looking for, and then we made those tags. Any customer that called for a custom tag, we made 2. We made 1 for them, and then we made a standard one for ours. Every single page, we literally then added a new product. I think we were adding, new products every other day. And then it grew and grew. And so the search strategy hasn't changed. It's a simple one of, we've got to do all the customer service right. We've got a great product, but the search strategy is we need to turn up for all these really weird different tags that people in different industries need. As well, off the back of studying the analytics, we did notice as well that there was a huge volume of traffic coming from the States, from America. This is going a couple of years back. But as soon as they saw .com.au, they left. The traffic left instantly. They went, I'm not buying anything from Australia that does not make sense. And, I can understand that. For example, if I go to, a British website, I'm not going to buy anything from Britain. I'm not waiting. So instead, off the back of learning all this information, we went, there's a market here. We know it is. We can see it. We've got tracking going back to 2011. But we need to do something. So we built a new website purely for the Americas, gave it a .com. We put a phone number in Chicago. We ended up getting some warehouses in Chicago. We've now got a full-time guy working in Chicago. Oil and gas is big throughout the States, but everything on that website is geared towards, the American market, feet, inches, things like that. And so if someone in America wants to call an order, they pick up the phone. There's another American on the phone at the end of the line. Yet at the same time, the products are made in the back of Condobolin. Pretty crazy when you think about it in that sense. But it's that would never have happened if we didn't have a good search strategy, we didn't have good numbers backing us up, and a good platform that can grow to that level. You don't always need to go to that level, but the website was the right pick at the time. The next one I'm going to talk about for selling online is customer engagement. So the big one is looking for changing habits and behavior online, seeing what your numbers, where is your traffic coming from? What are they doing on your website? And what are they after? The other one as well is getting any feedback. This is a really tough one. I struggle with this one myself, is if you quote for a job or you sell up and people either abandon the cart or they never get back to you, it's finding out why. Why did this job not go ahead? Either pick up the phone or send an email. It can really kind of help kind of work out the customers. As well, we need to show up where your customers are. This is a big one, and spent a lot of time talking with this business owners where they're like, I went to this conference and they say I need to do videos on TikTok. Or no, I need to, the system, the algorithm responds to 5 posts on Instagram a week or 5 posts on Facebook a week. To be honest, you don't need to do any of it if you do not want to. My always advice to anyone is find out where your customers are. What is their customer base? Where are they? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they on LinkedIn? If they're not, don't bother. And the best way to do is find out, is to ask. Work out who your ideal customer is and make sure the online and the offline speaks directly to them. Good example I can quickly give of this is I work with quite a few different farm machinery clients, and a lot of those, their customers are farmers. They're always on their phones, but they're still on Facebook. They haven't left. So all the marketing is geared towards making sure that any posts or anything from any of these businesses looking to target those audiences has to turn up well on Facebook. So knowing who your customer is and make sure the marketing speaks directly to them is a big one. And the next one is just to listen. You don't always have to take advice. You don't always have to act on every bit of feedback that you get, but at the same time is simply listening to your customers. Customers' preferences and tastes are constantly changing. So make sure you keep on listening. Good example I can do, this is good, we've got a few people in the hospitality industry here, is I work with this lady, Colleen, at Candles Fairways Motel. If anyone's traveling through Candles, drop in, stay there, say good day. She's lovely. And she's done some interesting, she knows properties really well, but the best thing about how she runs her business is she knows her customers inside and out. She doesn't waste too much time on the social media. She does a little bit here and there, but she really listened to her customers at this property at Candles. Great little place, right next to a golf course, beautiful. But rather than being just any old place, she literally talked with her customers and she worked out, okay, I want my Monday to Fridays, I'm targeting civils, engineering, and people who are literally generally men who are away for a few nights at a time. And she then talked to them when she had them at reception. What do you like? What don't you like? What can we do? What do you need? Cut her costs and at the same time invested in blackout blinds, high-speed Wi-Fi, smart TVs. She then made sure that they were all happy. She then went, okay, I need to fill my weekends a bit more. So I need some different groups of people who now come on a regular basis. She now has a lot of bird watchers who come out to Candles. She's got a few different people who holiday and vacation and visit families there. And she noticed that she literally people just kept requesting this one particular room a few years ago. And she's like, why does everyone want this room? And it simply was that it had a large fridge. People like to pack, fridge and food, and people were packing their own Wacos and stuff. And she went, well, I don't want that to happen. So she went through and she went out and bought 12 huge fridges and put them in every single room. And then she told everybody about it, put it on the marketing. Hey, we've listened. We've now got fridges in every room, everything. So she really engages with her customers. But at the same time, that was in person, but then online, we needed to showcase that. So we had to rebuild the website. We then had to integrate being able to book online. We had to make sure that everyone's questions were answered. If people wanted detailed information on the rooms, families traveling with kids, how do we check in? How do we check out? A lot of questions. If you're in B&B industry, people always seem to have lots of questions. So we really try to address all of that to save time on the phone. But then at the same time, she didn't want to pay as much commission as you do to Booking.com or Expedia and all these other third parties. So we really pushed that website as being to get people to book through it directly, to make it smooth and simple. As well, as soon as she got one customer through the door, she told them. next time, here's my card, book direct. Well, you always get the best price. And that way she's been able to kind of reduce having to pay out commission to these third-party websites and control her customer base. She's not reliant on them for business. The next one here is newsletters. Looking at who we've got in our group here today, I think from memory, there's a couple of people who do out regular newsletters. I encourage you to if you want to. But I really stress that it's really important to deliver real value to people's inbox. Inboxes and sending email outs is an interesting one that hasn't really gone away. And it simply is that people still use email as their real primary source of communication. So if you can get your way into someone's email, if you can send them the occasional email, it really helps you, keep your audience informed and educated. It also really helps, encourage your leads both online and offline. Here's one that I recommend that I sign up for. I think I sign up for 3 emails. That's it. I generally don't myself. But this is a really great guy I'd recommend listening to. He's got a great podcast and he writes these really good books. His name's Cal Newport. He was incredibly easy to sign up to. It's always an enjoyable read. And his whole thing is he wants you to listen to his podcast. He wants you to buy his books. That's it. But it's a really it's simple, it's straightforward. But the main thing about getting this email when I get it from him is I know he's written it, but at the same time, there's always something in it. There's always a bit of value. It's not just trying to sell, sell, sell. He's taken me along and I've read it constantly for a few months now. So a quick recap. Number 1, build a website that supports your sales. Use some trust signals, get some reviews, get some accreditations, make sure it's showcased well. Get a search strategy or start writing a search strategy. Engage where your customers spend time online. Use newsletters, stay on top of mind, and also learn what's working, what's not. Keep learning. Just had a quick question here from Belinda. Is there any way around making sure newsletters don't end up on junk inboxes? Great question, very tricky to do. It's about making sure that there is a way you can really kind of make sure that your customers double opt in to emails, first of all. So they say, yes, I do want to receive it. Yes. The next is to make sure that your DNS settings for your domain name and your email setup are really well set up, that you've got a few records to make sure that they are delivered to the right customers. If you're not too sure.
That's what you helped me with, Steve, wasn't it? One day I said, I think my DNS thing isn't working. Can you help?
DNS, for people who don't know, it's for your domain name. It's adding records so people know, okay, this is for email, this is for my website, this is to point to my home server. This is DNS. It's a tricky one to explain, but it's once you get it right and sorted, it will do its job.
I've got a question
Sure.
for you to get us started on some more questions as well. And please feel free to pop any relevant to Steve into the chat and we'll go through a couple now. My question when you're talking about security was around how we can secure our website, also how we can secure our sign-up forms, etc. I don't know how many spam sign-ups I got to my contact us form over Christmas. I don't know why. I got so many of them. I had no idea how to turn it off. But does the capture feature, is that something that you can use as a security blocker of some degree?
Yes. So a couple of things. So website access. Who has access to the website? Make sure you keep it tight. Anyone who used to work for or built the website or was involved, if they're no longer involved, get them out. Simple as that. The next one is to make sure that the email or whatever you use as your login for that website, that email account is also secure. Make sure the password, a lot of people, if you've got an old, say, Outlook or Hotmail or Gmail account that has got a terrible password that doesn't have 2-factor authentication on it. If someone gets into your email, they can do serious damage. Trust me, just if you haven't changed your password on, say, your Gmail or Hotmail or anything like that, is to make sure that that is then changed and secure. Next one, for your own website, you mentioned about you getting a lot of junk spam and things like that, is make sure that you've properly configured what they call reCAPTCHA. reCAPTCHA is the most popular, the are you a real person, solve this riddle, things like that. Make sure that's set up, but then also make sure that it's working. If in doubt, just let me know. You can see, it is. You can also increase security settings on most websites as well, restricting countries, restricting number of time people visit, and kind of just not leaving yourself open to just spamming, which is it slows your website down, a bad experience, waste your time.
So
Does that
is
answer your question?
reCAPTCHA a plugin to people's websites, or is
No,
it
reCAPTCHA
backend?
is something that Google offer that you have to configure and set up. Simply Google reCAPTCHA. They do it for free. They want you to use it and put it onto your website. The version 3 is the one to go with.
Okay, great. Claire's also got a question, your quick rundown on search strategy.
Sure. Okay, quick rundown. I'll do a quick recap of the search strategy. Sorry, Claire. Writing a search strategy it's almost a one-page document. Not even. It is thinking about what customers you want to attract to your business, and then making sure that if somebody is, say, Googling a particular phrase or a number of words in that series, that your website or your social media or whatever you want is then turning up as you want it to. And then kind of setting course. For example, if you give me an example, Claire, what industry have you got? Are you from memory, Kara?
Maybe we can continue that one. Oh, there we go.
Retail,
Eco and wellness store.
It'd be picking the popular products that you sell, and then making sure that if someone Googles it, you're at least coming up. You're then showing up for that particular search, and then start making sure that your branding, your marketing, your content on your website reflects those searches to make sure that we're getting the best chance of then showing up. If in doubt, just give me a quick buzz. Okay, great. I think that's the end. Any other questions while you've got me? If not, I'll hand over to Kirsten. I think I came in on time. Yep.
Well done, Steve. Right to the minute. Well done. So as we move into my session, which is about selling offline, I'm more used to an offline environment than I am online. So I'm going to thank the 3 or 4 people who have kept their video on for us so that I can see your lovely faces and the reactions that you're giving us and gauge how we're going based on that. And also request that the other 20 people who are on this call today might consider popping onto video for at least part of the next session, so that at least you can get a feel about what changes when we've been in an offline environment, in an online environment, and then get to actually see faces, expressions, etc. So thank you for those people who just came in online there. And if you're eating a lunch, of course, feel free to to pause for a minute. Right, so as I get myself sorted, Steve, can you see me and hear me all right?
Yep,
Good to go?
going great. You got it.
Great. So we're going to talk about selling online, how you can enhance your customer journey, and how your customer journey across the board, in fact, is your sales process, and that it's not one tiny little portion where you're under all this pressure to make someone buy. That's not what it's about. What it is about is seeing it holistically and understanding where people are coming and going between those offline and online areas. Second, what you can do and how you can do things to increase your conversion. That's our goal. We said we would help share with you how to get more browsers into buyers. And more than that, how do you get those buyers who are saying, I might, with intent, to actually sign on the dotted line? Thirdly, how to identify some unused channels as lead sources within your business, and how you might be able to use them to start connecting better with your prospects and turn them into customers. And lastly, how to get sales to work with and support the existing digital ecosystem that you've got. So you may have some of Steve's clients literally have their website and their shop front. So you might only be utilizing 2. You don't have to use them all. But what we're going through now will give you a better understanding of all, and you need to decide where you have some gaps and where you might be able to make some changes. I think even when we put together this presentation, and Steve and I came up with the concept middle of last year, we did a test run in Bathurst face-to-face with a similar amount of businesses, around 20, 30. we then decided, well, look, if we're selling online and offline, we really should take it online as well. So thanks for joining us today. But often people think we go online first. Steve and I didn't. In fact, we did in terms of our advertising, and then we facilitated the face-to-face workshop and then brought people back into our realm. So from that presentation that Steve and I did late last year, 2 or 3 people became customers for each of us. So I would say that increased our conversion by having that offline event. Today, we're working in opposite order. Some of you we already know in an offline environment, but are getting to know in an online and may or may not become customers in the future. So have a think again about how your customer journey usually begins. Is it from in an online environment? Are people going to your website, or do you have in store where someone can come in and meet you first, and then you can communicate them in other environments as well? Because it's never linear. There we go. So selling with your senses. Today, we have 5 senses: hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and vision or seeing. Today, you can hear me, you can see me. I can't hear you at the moment, you're on mute, but I can see half of you, which is great. When we're in an online environment, we are usually restricted to 1 or 2. Which ones? Vision, hearing, right? So you're using email, you've got visual only. You're using video, you've got your hearing and your vision. Today we've got those 2. Think about what happens when you're switching on a few more of these. So look at those 3 in the middle. You've got smell, you've got taste, you've got touch. So imagine if we were standing together in that face-to-face environment, Steve and I were actually presenting in person. It would feel different. You'd probably be a little bit more engaged. We would probably have a greater or bigger impact, or our bigger ability to influence what you're thinking, because we're there. You can feel it, right? You know, I'm not saying that you'd be able to smell, taste, or touch us, but there's a presence that you can't explain when you're in person. And Steve and I had a little joke as we were preparing for today, and I think he brought it in a bit as well. Are you real? Like when I asked the question about capture, little capture things, it's basically saying in an online environment, are you real? Yes, I am. You do it once, and you have to do it twice or 3 times, just frustrates you, right? Like, I'm real, I don't need to do the capture. But we have been asked in a phone environment too, and Steve has, was it on phone or online? Like, I'm just calling to see if you're real, right? People want to know if you're real or not. So now more than ever, you have a greater ability to influence if you're there in person in some way, shape, or form. It's not always possible for businesses to do that. But I want you to think of a time when you've been a buyer, okay? So you're scrolling through images on Instagram, you come across a video of this owner of BDM by the Hour. She's encouraging you to come along to an online offline workshop. She used video for the first time ever. It was hearing, it was vision, right? I did it because I was like, you know what, I can't just keep on sending static images. And I have met some of you already. I was like, oh, I need to do the video. And it had an impact. And people are like, wow, cool. I saw your video, Kirsten. Great. Some of you have come along today because of that. Adding in the 5 senses makes others feel more comfortable, and in turn can make yourself feel more comfortable when you're selling, right? Think about, for those of you who are in hotels, I know I've walked into Langham and Quest specifically. You walk in, you go into the reception area, you can usually see like a pretty look. We've got a desk, you've got some pretty flowers. Sometimes you can see some apples there. It makes you feel quite comfortable. And Quest and Langham have their signature smells. They are utilizing smell to make you feel more comfortable and to build trust, right? It's a sales tool. It's lovely and you get to enjoy it, but it is a sales tool and it's plugging into your senses. Supermarket shopping. So when do you decide, and how do you decide as a buyer whether or not you're going to do shopping online or you're going to go in store? What's the trigger? Pros, cons, online's easier. You can compare quickly. You haven't got time to actually spend half an hour in the store. You don't want to deal with the parking, so you go online. When you go in store, you can see, you can smell, the fruit and veg, you can see which ones you want to select. You've got better choice. You've got better control of your environment, but you also have a bigger probability that you're influenced. I went in to buy milk yesterday. I came out with hot cross buns. Everyone's done it, right? Selling to your senses. And last of all, I've got an example. I was trying to think of one where you've got the 5 senses going. And apart from like overwhelming concert when you're out there having a great time, which is what that's doing too. Local butcher, Saturday morning, you go into the car park, you can hear the chatter of the local shop, you can smell the sausages cooking. They've got a taste tester, you taste it, you look at the sausages on offer, you've got choice, you can see them, you buy. So the result is that you will get higher conversion when you're utilizing all of these senses because you're tapping into influence basically. Retail conversion 20-30% in store. Online conversion 1 to 3%. So just something to keep in mind as we go through. Don't restrict yourself just to these 2 peeps. Right, so I've got the same chart up again. These were our channels or our interaction points. As we look at these, I want you to think about attention. So a lot of the times online, SEO, paid ads, AI, Google search, everyone's fighting for your attention. But if we think about which ones have more impact, is it the EDM that has words on a page and a video and an offer? Is it the newspaper article where you've got a write-up that's really written really well and you've got a static image? Is it the radio where you can hear what's going on in the local and you hear about a new business that you hadn't thought of before? Or is it working more towards the right-hand side where you're starting to combine even more senses? And the reason why I wanted you to have a think about the senses is that when you are in an offline environment, you have a much higher probability of utilizing those senses, but it's also what often makes it feel daunting for people because you can't hide. You'll notice there that I have webinar camera on, webinar camera off there. It's a different feeling, right? You're more exposed when you've got the webinar camera on. So you're more exposed as someone watching, but you're also more exposed as someone presenting. I'm presenting here today in front of a webinar. Often the reason why people are scared of sales is because they're in an environment where they have the whole 5 senses. But sometimes it's just about practicing the senses that you're not as familiar with so that you feel more comfortable. And in turn, the people who you're speaking with will feel more comfortable, and you'll build more trust and you'll get more conversion and sales out of it. So this is the area that we're going to be focusing on today, the offline area. And these ones here specifically, conferences, networking events, markets, door knocks, walk-in. It's not always applicable to every business. Often service-based organizations will say, oh no, I don't have the opportunity to meet people face-to-face, but you do. And when you do, you'll have more connection. And if you can weave those individuals back from meeting them offline into the online environment and back and forth, that's where you're going to get increased conversion from it. I also have an example for you. It's not about coffee, but it's about cider. So a couple of weekends ago, I went to the local markets. I was browsing and there was a cider tasting. I saw it. I like cider. I went up. I tried the cider. They had this beautiful spiced cider served warm. I tasted it. I loved it. I said, I'd like to buy some. I didn't have a bag with me, so I was kind of restricted to my purse, which is 1 cider bottle worth. And I thought, oh, I really want to buy more, but I can't. So I asked the question, is there anywhere else that you sell the cider so I can buy it another day? The answer was yes. I talked to the salesperson at the market, and in fact, they had a brewery. So much like Steve, the guy was like, yeah, we've got a brewery. I said, what's it called? I put out my phone. I looked it up. I had it there on my tab. When I went home, I went and they booked us in for lunch on the Sunday, so the following day. That purchase from me was a couple of $100s, right? Without that local market, the purchase would have been zilch. I wouldn't have even bought the cider because I wouldn't have been exposed to it. I wouldn't have smelt it. I wouldn't have been like, oh, that looks great, you know? So the impact that you have when you're in these face-to-face conference walk-ins, networking events, markets, door knocks is incredible, right? So if you're not using any of them, please consider if there's a way that you can incorporate that into your sales process or your customer journey, because when you do, in any way, shape or form, you will have better conversion. And when you do, you won't need to market to as many individuals because you're going to have quite higher quality and better conversion too. If you're playing in the left-hand space, that's fine. And a lot of businesses are. But the volume that you need to attract in this space in order to work off 2 to 3% conversions to sale is so great it can be exhausting. So please consider the right-hand side of the screen here for bigger impact. Building trust when selling. So I stole Steve's slide on this and I'm applying it to selling offline. But ensure you're comfortable, you have a comfortable posture, your tone's right, you've got the intonation right, and your speed's right. Easier said than done, because often when you're selling, you can be scared, but get comfortable with yourself, because when you're portraying this, the other person's comfortable too. If I was sitting here speaking at a rate of knots, which I could easily do, first, you wouldn't understand me. And second, you'd probably discount me because you're just like, oh, I don't know what she's doing. She's not on the planet. So as a seller, do your preparation, do your research, make it relevant, and let marketing and all that online digital space and that information that you have of clicks and opens and visits, let that inform what you're doing when you have someone face-to-face in a conference or on the phone, when you've got someone in a two-way street, when you're interacting with them. In that way too, you're making it relevant and you're not letting your marketing efforts go to waste. Lastly, be present, be yourself. Again, easier said than done, but Steve and I get along because at the end of the day, we try and keep things as simple as possible. You can get yourself distracted and caught up in everything that's going on, but knowing yourself, being present and selling, that is what's going to win you over at the end of the day, because you're real. You're a real person. Next, I want to talk about gaining commitment. The slide at the beginning of the presentation, I had all the different channels of communication. I was talking about what you can do across the customer journey to influence and to win more business. And I spoke about gaining commitment. I truly believe that you need to gain commitment across the whole customer journey. It's not just the salesperson's role to ask, hey, how does that sound? Would you like to do business together? Because when you do that at the wrong time, it just doesn't work. And if you do that out of the blue, you always get a no, awkward, go away, right? But when you incorporate gaining commitment in little micro pieces, so marketing will call it a call to action or a next step. In sales, it can show differently. But when you're doing that in little micro pieces, what you're doing is asking the individual at each stage how they're going. Is this still something you're interested in? And that's how you get people from going buyers, so browsers, buyers, purchasers, because you're helping them to make that decision. Without the decision, the intent can still be there. They can still be identified as a buyer, but they haven't actually done the purchase, right? So again, I cannot stress, this used to be what was called the salesperson's role. It is not just the salesperson's role. If the salesperson does this in their conversation, whether it's face-to-face or online, and the individual haven't been asked these questions as they go along and gone through the thought process of whether or not they want to purchase the coffee, they smell it, oh yeah, that smells good, I want to do that, I might go there on the weekend, I'm going to go, I take the action, I go online and I book, right? If you don't have those micro steps, the whole thing falls apart and it's awkward and you lose the sale. So be approachable and available. Steve mentioned having your mobile number on your website. How many people, this is a poll without an official poll, how many people have their mobile number or a mobile number for an individual to contact on their website. And I'm going to give you a second to jump into the chat and comment, please. Steve, I want a tally. In 20 seconds, I'd like a tally.
Seeing a lot of
please.
hands up.
Hands up, cool. Good. Great. Be approachable, be available. If you don't have it, have it. Because let's take your seller's hat off for a second and put your buyer's hat. And what is the most frustrating thing in the world when you're trying to buy and you're online and something's not working for some reason and you have your credit card there, you're about to purchase? What do? You look for a number, or you find a 1300 number and they're not open. You think, oh. Or you find a 02, 03 number, you think, oh, okay, landline, they're not going to be in. You find a mobile with even better, with someone's name on it. You call it, they help you place the booking. Boom, done. Have a number there so that when buyers are there and they have that frustration, they can still reach you. Obviously, you've got to have restrictions on when you're going to be available and how you manage it, but have a number. Lastly, ask. So make sure you're asking if it's in call to actions through written, if it's in through video, if it's on a phone call. Ask, hey, I think we've got something that could be really beneficial. We've been talking for a while. You needed this, we've got this. Would you like to work together? Would you like me to help you make that purchase today? Whatever it is, just make sure you're asking too. So let's talk about buying signs. Again, used to be a salesperson's job to look for buying signs and try and figure out where the person is at. It can be tricky, right? So where you can, again, use marketing to inform, but you want to be looking for the proximity. So this is face-to-face. So where's that person standing? Are they standing way back? Yeah. When they flip it, they're leaning in, they've got positive tones, they've got facial expressions. It seems basic, but as we've moved more into a digital world, I feel like we've forgotten about these things. If you look at a kid, and if they want something, which is a buying sign, they're looking to buy something, they want something, they are going to be doing all these things, right? They're going to be all happy, oh, hey, they're going to be asking, right? So like adults, I don't know why, but we forget that we can use these to influence. And when we're sellers, we need to look for these because we still do it in the background. Choice of words. So when you're selling to someone, you might be in a Zoom meeting with them and you hear their choice of words change. You think, oh yeah, by golly, they're going to buy, right? They might be saying, oh yeah, that sounds good. Or I just need to check with my business partner about that. Or yeah, when we've got that, I'm wondering if the fridge will fit in the new apartment, right? They're buying signs. They've envisaged it. They've already made that change in their head, and they're asking proactive, really specific questions. How does Squarespace compare to WordPress in terms of the functionality with purchase, the purchase button or whatever? That was rhetorical, Steve.
I don't want to get into that now, but
website. But see, like he's ready. He's like, oh, buying signs, ready, right? A proactive and a specific question, they're ready to buy. Don't be scared. Answer their question with confidence. Have your posture ready, and be ready for them to have the sale, right? Sorry, Steve, you looked like you still did want to say something then.
No, it's okay. Squarespace is okay. It's okay.
Yeah, right, got it. Controversial, I'm going to throw it in there. Are objections a buying sign or are they just annoying? What do we think?
Buying sign.
Buying sign. They totally are, right? If someone has an objection, they've already thought about it. They've had to go through the process in their mind. Will I buy this? Oh, if I buy this, it might blah. And then they've asked the question. So my view on objections are that they're not objections you have to overcome. They're obstacles, right? But take them head on and talk them through with the individual. If you're in an email, move it to phone. If you're on LinkedIn, try and move it to phone or video, because that's gold. Objections means interaction. It means your high ability to influence. It means they're getting ready to buy. Does anyone find objections scary? No, we're well versed business owners and salespeople. Good, because they're not, right? Maybe. It's not the objection that's scary. Usually it's the anticipation of the objection. So if you're anticipating that someone might have an objection, write down all the objections they could have, practice how you're going to talk through it, and then you're good to go. When it comes, it's not an objection. You're used to it. It's just questions or FAQ. You can't fix what you don't know. Yeah, you can't. And if you can't answer a question, that's fine too. We're people. People get it. So objections are buying signs. This next slide is it's showing you a traditional marketing funnel. Some of you that would have studied business quite some time ago may have seen it. I've got a basic version up there, which is feed people into the top, make them aware of the product, they'll then consider it, and then they'll convert. Customers will walk in your door and give you money. I don't believe that's how it works now. And I don't believe it's how it works because the funnel is really restrictive. It's telling people what they need to do. It's saying, oh, well, I'm going to push you down this funnel, and I don't like that. I don't like that as a seller, and I don't like it when I'm buying something either. I truly believe that you need to provide choice for people to allow them an enter and exit as they wish in whatever channel or interaction forum that we looked at before that they want to. If people want to contact you on Instagram, they can. If they want to contact you on LinkedIn or text or phone, if you have those channels available and they do, let people enter or exit through them, and providing choice also makes it more fun. Enter the flywheel. How much more fun is this? Right? So the concept of the flywheel is that individuals can enter and exit at different points. They can come in through different channels, and they can end up in online or offline, move back and forth like the agent, like the side story, like the coffee. And in doing it in that way and allowing them to do that and then thinking about it as a flywheel, it does become more complex from the back end. But for the customer, you're giving them that choice. And when they have choice to interact in the way that they want, you've got a higher probability of converting the client. Steve, I can see you with a smile on your face.
I was just thinking, I've actually got literally, I think more flywheel, but I recently went through an experience with a service that I like. It was a gym membership. They
Yep.
think like the left. They thought, we've got you. And I literally injured my back, as I tell you, and I literally couldn't train. And I said, I need to take a pause and get this sorted. I think
Yeah.
like a flywheel where I'm like, I need to put a pause. I will be back.
Yeah.
But they put my feet to the fire and said, no, you still need to keep paying for another couple more weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it left me with such a taste in my mouth that I put my back, literally my back up, and I said, no. And I don't think I'm coming back. I
So
literally left,
what could have they done to have provided you with a
just
better
bought more
customer?
flywheel and gone, we'll pause it. We'll have you
Yeah.
back when you're ready. Keep me happy,
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
me engaged, keep the
Yeah.
relationship going. Instead,
Yeah.
they thought, we've got you, you're in our funnel.
Yeah. I mean, they could have paused you and lost 3 months of income to gain another year or 2 years off the back of that. But the flywheel way of thinking, there's so many ways you can talk about it. Have a look online if you're not familiar with it too, because it's about giving more compounding growth. So exactly to your point of the gym membership, about it's not saying you have to be so flexible that you're going to lose income on it, but they've lost you as a customer now because they haven't thought long term, lose 3 months in order to gain 2 years on the other end. But it gives you, in terms of marketing and sales, it gives you compounding growth, because it's talking about moving someone from, today a couple of the people who signed up for the webinar signed up for my newsletter. So that's great. So that's feeding into the flywheel all the time, so that you, again, reaching the people where they want to be reached. And the way I like to describe it, on the left, it is pushy, and on the right, it's more pulley, if that's even a word. That's a Kirsten word there. So as we come towards the end of our presentation, I want you to take a moment to have a little bit of self-reflection. So please have a look at the screen as I put up the next couple of points. Read through and just consider these questions in relation to your own business. CX is customer experience. So what does your customer experience look like? All right, that should help you create a to-do after the meeting. And some considerations here. Quality two-way conversations beat one-way interaction. One-way interaction is a text, is an email that you can spend 20 minutes on, hit send, and never hear back from the person. Quality two-way conversations is when we now open up in a minute to give you the opportunity to ask some questions so that we can be here now in a two-way conversation, because the chunk of the webinar is actually one way. It's you listening. We want you to come back and ask us some quality questions and have a two-way conversation about it. Inbound and outbound is a very old way of thinking about things. Inbound, an example of an inbound lead may be someone who inquires through your website, and an outbound lead might be doing sales calls. But if you're only doing one or the other, please consider doing the opposite. So an example of outbound that you might not be doing is getting yourself into networking events, putting yourself and your business out there, not knowing exactly what's then going to come back. Inbound is when someone comes to you, because waiting for someone to come to you in a world where everyone is completely overwhelmed with digital and needs someone to help them make decisions because there's so much information out there, you might just find that if you've got some targeted outbound calls or events, you might find the right people are just right there on your doorstep. Identifying moments of intent and nurturing them. So intent, in that first slide we had with browsers and buyers, people who are going to buy are going in with intent and they're saying, I might just like that thing, right? So sometimes they will go and purchase themselves, and sometimes they need a helping hand. So if they've shown intent, and Steve covered what intent, well, Steve did cover what intent looked like in an online way. It's like multiple visits to websites. Intent might be using language that's really positive, like I want to check with the other partner of the business. You can see they're close to buying. You need to nurture that or you'll lose it, right? So it could be moving them to text, but it's using follow-ups and having a sales process to do that. So one of the things that we had spoken about in the lead up to the event was to share with you what to do, what is a sales process and what does that look like. A sales process is that customer, there's the whole customer journey and gaining commitment across the board. Just don't let it stop. Let the touch points continue. Let the interactions continue. So if you have an inquiry come through your website, what are you going to do? You'll probably email back or try and set a video call. What you might like to try is also switching it up. Have a phone call. Or if you have 10 inquiries come in at the same time and it's your website's great and you're getting a nice niche ICP, invite them all to an event. Hey, we've just had 20 inquiries come through last week for this. What we've done is we've created a webinar because you'll have similar questions or whatever it is. Let the touch points continue. Don't stop the frequency of them, because when you're in that predominantly digital space and you have a look at how many interaction points you're having or the buyer is having, that's like 10, 20, 30 easily. But all of a sudden when we get into a face-to-face or phone environment, we feel like an extra phone call is too much or a text is too much. But I can tell you, people want people right now. They want to know you're real and they want help. So from a buyer's perspective, remember, we expect that. We expect to be able to call someone when we need help. So from a seller's perspective, make sure you're doing that proactively in whatever way that shows for your business. I've got my recap here now. So we've spoken about browsers to buyers and that interest versus intent. We've spoken about remembering to look across your customer journey and make sure that you're nurturing micro commitments at every interaction, not just call to actions, but also doing that when you're in a video, face-to-face or phone environment. Think about how you're engaging the senses when you're talking to your prospects or customers. And think about that circle I drew around those offline channels for maximum impact and influence. The flywheel, giving choice of entry and exit point for your customers. And one I didn't have on there, which I should have had again to remind everyone, when you're selling, please just be yourself, be comfortable. People will love you because people want people. People don't want something else, another email,